So tonight I just want to discuss some of the issues I've had with YouTube and just things in general. Little Q&A section. If anybody wants to jump on, just let me know. And you're more than welcome to join me. High Tech for Your Needs. It's been a while since I've streamed. It's been about 3.5 weeks. Been trying to figure some things out. So just kind of wanted to talk about and see if anybody else has had any issues with uploading and with let's see here, quick. Send out a right here. If anybody has had any issues like I have with uploads, making it through the upload, but when they go to process, they take forever or they don't complete, because that's the issue that I had last night. I had an upload that started around 7 o'clock and it still was not done by 8 o'clock. And so I started it over, waited over the whole entire night, and it still wasn't ready, unfortunately. So I don't know if anybody else had had any issues like that or not. Just wanted to see. We can have a little Q&A session tonight, talk about whatever, talk about the Razer phone. I know that's a huge topic right now. Talk about future technology. I have some thoughts on that. We can talk about anything. Doesn't even have to be tech related necessarily. As far as other concerns I've had, there's been a lot of, I don't know, kind of tiffs going on with YouTube, Twitter, people taking things personally, people blocking people, people calling other people out in other streams, things like that. And I've just been staying away from that because that's a mess. And, interacting with my fellow tech community is a huge deal. And I think it throws people off when names are called or when inappropriate interactions go on, and it's almost like a little bit of a click, and I've been trying to stay away from that and trying to do my own thing and not take anything personally and just move on and live life and enjoy this. And so I appreciate everybody that's, my 152 subscribers. I appreciate you all for doing your thing and for sticking with me and for being on this journey. And, it's tiring. It's a lot of work, but it's worth it in the end. My goal is to hit 200 subscribers by the end of the year. I'm going to be back to streaming hopefully weekly after Thanksgiving, between Thanksgiving and Christmas, and I'll probably skip a week around Christmas time and then be back to it again. And I have some fun things coming up, including some interviews and some kind of reviews that I haven't really seen. You don't really see a lot of, oh, this is how to start, or this is what I'm doing as I start. And so I'm going to be getting some new equipment coming up soon, a new microphone hopefully, and that should really help. I stream out of our room because that's the only space I have where, for the most part, because we live with my parents to have space. So I'm hoping that that will help. Yeah, it's definitely tougher than people think, and there's a lot of interactions to deal with, and It's definitely been a learning experience for me, Art Dog. And you're one of the, I think you're like the first subscriber I've had, other than maybe, um, no, one other person from another channel, but you're definitely one of the first handful, and I appreciate your support all the way, man. I've been learning, right now I'm using this AKG headset and LG or a Logitech 1080p webcam, but um, I'm going to be getting more of a permanent setup, so that will be fun. Can't wait to get things a little bit better quality audio. I know some people really appreciate that. I see Dr. Donna Walter popped up. I know she'll really appreciate having better audio and being able to hear me. So that should be coming hopefully this next week or so. I'll be getting that set up. It's really takes a lot of work. You can't just go out and just buy something. You got to figure out what's right for your voice. There's all sorts of different varying technology when it comes to microphones and interfaces and things like that, but I think I've narrowed it down, so that should be good. As somebody who's just starting, you gotta one day at a time. So. I wish that StreamYard would keep up with YouTube sometimes. Yeah, I know it sounds good to you. That's right now, but it's more for when I do my videos and things like that, so I don't sound so quiet, because I don't like wearing a headset when I'm doing my videos. I like to be able to move around, so. Tech for Your Needs popped up and then disappeared in my, for example, those soft talking need a different mic than those who are on the other end of the spectrum. Exactly, and if you have a heavy bass voice, some microphones will really, really, really sound really muddy. And for me, I have kind of a mid-level voice, and so those microphones don't tend to muddy as much, and I can an advantage of having kind of a higher voice and not a deep of a voice is I don't need to look for some, $400 Shure microphone. I can get a dynamic microphone, but it doesn't necessarily need to be as expensive. I can kind of start out at a lower price end. I mean, it would be nice to have a Shure SM7B, but I don't have $800 to spend on that. So there you are. I saw you pop in earlier and then you disappeared.
Yeah, because I had to get headphones.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
When are your pros coming?
Well, I'm getting the third of next month
Oh, okay.
because I'm selling some stuff to get it. So the only thing I'm putting is $20 out of my own pocket.
Wow, that's really good.
So these are brand new. I switched them to 12 left and right. They did it for the hell of it. I went and I said, let me see if they change them. Nothing wrong with them. They only stopped working once, but that was like 5 months ago. The left and then the right stopped working 3 months ago. But just for like 1 hour and then it started working fine. So I said, let me go and change them. And I changed them and they gave it to me both new.
That's pretty good. So then you can sell those and get more for them or whatever, or keep them as a backup, I guess, depending on what you
No,
want to do.
I'm selling them for $85.
Well, somebody's getting a good deal. Although I did see, are those the first generation? I can't hear you, by the way. I don't know if you muted or what happened. So hopefully they can hear you. I can't hear you, but hold on. It says you're muted, so. I don't know. Can you hear me? Well, that's awkward. Anyways. Started getting my YouTube videos going, and the more I learned, the more I learned I didn't know. Yeah, definitely. That happens. Let's see. Okay, now let's see if I can hear you still.
Can you hear me?
Now I
Can you hear me? You know what happened? Series. It came in the middle. That's why. I was talking to Series interrupt me.
Yeah, that's I noticed it was on Wired Wednesday last night that Emily, yeah, hers had the same issue. Siri or something popped up and it interrupted.
You mean,
or not yesterday.
Not what?
Tuesday.
Tuesday, yeah, because you said Wednesday. That's what I was trying to correct.
That's what I meant. On Tuesday on Gadget Chats. Yeah, hers did the same thing for some reason. Like if Siri pops up, it interrupts and then you can't get it. You gotta go back out and go back in. So
correct.
So I don't know. I just kind of, it was frustrating because I had this video all ready to go last night.
Mm-hmm.
It was only less than a 4-minute video. It was like 3 minutes and 52 seconds. Same format as I always do. I shot it on my iPhone. I edited, I pieced the parts together because I had like front-facing camera showing me, and then you can't switch to the back camera. Well, you can't switch to the back camera in the default camera app while you're recording video. So I just stopped the recording, did the back, pieced it together, added my intro and my outro like I always do, and it uploaded, but then it went to process and there was an error. So I'm like, okay, let me try something else. So I figured I'll try saving it to my camera roll and doing it from there instead of trying to upload to YouTube from the iMovie app. Same thing. So then I figure I'll do it on my computer. It got 34% and I was tired, so I just figure I'll just let it process. I can close my computer. It's already uploaded. I could close out of my computer. It doesn't matter. YouTube just needs to process. And I got it started, like I said, and then I got up this morning and it was still at 34%. So I decided I'm going to delete it. I did a test, just a quick test video, literally titled it test to see if it was something with YouTube. That went through really fast, like almost immediately, and processed and up and ready to go. So I deleted that. And then I decided, well, I'm going to see if it has anything to do with the topic or the title or the description that I put in there. I don't know if YouTube screens for certain things, like if they thought I was doing an advertisement, if they would block it or not. So I figured I'll just title it test in the description test and upload it. Same issue as I had before. So I said, forget about it. I'll go back and try it on the computer again. Did it on the computer. It took 3 tries, but then it finally went through all the way. And instead of making it public right away, I made it private, and then I was able to get it to go through. And then once it was fully uploaded, processed up to full resolution, I made it public, and it worked fine, but I shouldn't have had to go through 10 times of that process. And as far as
I think it was the problem. I think it was because the YouTube Studio is no longer in beta, so maybe that was the problem. They was trying to transition people.
Oh, that could be that. Yeah, it's gone. I noticed that, and then there's a new streaming thing now too.
Hmm.
And you get an
So
alert,
that.
and I got an alert that popped up having to do with the whole
Hmm.
children's protective thing, saying, hey, if this stream is directed towards children, you need to notify us before you. I was like, that's new. So let's see. As
Yeah.
far as this question, is there a way to put notifications on hold while doing a video live stream? Yes, you can.
Yeah.
Well, you can go into let's see.
It
You
depends
can,
what kind of phone you have.
yeah, it depends on what kind of phone you have, but on both, you should be able to go in like um
Yeah, you could do it.
and turn on Do Not Disturb if it's an Android phone or an iPhone.
Correct.
She's using a Windows phone.
And she
I
said Android.
Is she's Android?
Hmm.
Okay. So yeah, just
So
go down, swipe down, and turn on Do Not Disturb, or you can silence a particular notification. Like, um, if you have notifications that are popping up for Twitter or something, you can swipe over on the notification, hit the gear, and you can set it so that it's for a certain amount of time it's silenced. But I prefer to just turn on Do Not Disturb and then just turn it off when I'm done. Because then that blocks everything. You don't have to worry about, well, you blocked Twitter, but now, I don't know, other YouTube or Facebook
mhm.
or whatever notifications are coming through. So,
I wanted to talk about the new kids on regulation, COPA, because some people are mistaken. Because to be honest, yes, it had to do with children, but it also gonna affect everybody else content.
oh,
Because
yeah.
people thinking, oh no, it's gonna trigger to everybody, because that I think it's called FTC. They all want to be be nosy, but you know what it is? It's some creators that are doing bad things, and so the other people got to pay for it. So therefore, it's not everybody's fault. But you know, I don't want to mention no name, but big creators acting stupid with their channel 10 millions and getting away with it, and then us little people got to suffer because of their mistakes. Or parents hitting kids. I don't know if you see that channel. They got in trouble, and some kids
Yeah.
got taken away. So therefore, all that's gonna trigger because you're gonna trigger to everybody. People say, "Oh, I'm gonna get it fine." You're not gonna get it fine because it's not, but it's gonna be rules and regulation has to be in order to progress. And like I told people, you cannot put your eggs in one basket. If you're gonna pay for all the service, you won't be able to be a content creator because paying for bandwidth and all that's a lot of money and a lot of stuff we get it for free. You know what I mean? We get the hosting for free and all that. So we got to play by the rules.
Yeah.
You know what I
Well,
mean? Not be in jail, but play by the rules.
so, you're talking about larger streamers, and I was watching a stream last night, and
Mhm.
and, um, do you know Kyle from Bitwit?
Yeah, correct. I do.
And, uh, shoot. Um, Anyways, they have a stream every week. He and oh my gosh, what is his name?
You
Anyways,
mean Paul?
yeah,
Paul
Paul
Hardware?
from Paul's Hardware. So they start
Hmm.
on Paul's channel, and then halfway through they switch over to Kyle's channel,
Hmm.
and they do this every week. Well, last night, Linus was on there from Linus Tech Tips, and they were talking about some things. He had come out for the whole day, so they had been working on some videos, and anyways, they got talking about this. And one of the things that I thought was interesting is, so larger channels like Familia Diamond and some of these, where they're having kids and stuff on there, and their comments have been muted for a long time. And some of these different channels that, it's family stuff, but it's not necessarily directed right at kids. They prank each other. There's, they do, they give away phones and things like that quite often. Well, their channel is large enough that really their revenue is not ad based on YouTube. It's sponsors, like companies that sponsor them. But smaller channels that are working their way up are the ones that are going to get hit because they're relying on, like, you get to 1,000 subscribers and you get monetized on YouTube. So they, you're going to get that maybe. And then, although I've heard that it started to change now, but I'll get back to that in a minute. But that you have 1,000 subscribers, so you get monetized on YouTube. And then as you get larger and larger, because YouTube doesn't, the amount of money you get, unless you have like 10 million subscribers and you get billions and billions of views, like some people do, you don't really get that much, as much as people would think. It's more from sponsors, like from side revenue. But that's even starting to get to the point where people are getting that before they're even getting monetized on YouTube. Like, I've heard of people with like 200 or 300 subscribers getting deals. Like, I mean, Tana has Xfinity, and he's had that since, I think he said when he had, like 300. So
something.
The thing that beginners have to remember is, you might get these deals, and so, well, it is a big deal in certain aspects. Ad revenue, not really so much. Where it really starts to hit people is the recommendations. So if you're pushed further down because they're worried about it affecting, like YouTube's worried about being fined, so they put you lower down so that way you don't reach as many people and you're a lower risk to them potentially. Like, that's my concern. Or I'm not focused at kids, but I choose to not use certain language on my channel. So, you can sit down, like, somebody can sit down with their kid and their grandkids and watch my live streams and watch my normal videos and not have to worry about inappropriate language necessarily. Or, people, I don't want to say this because I'm not bashing anybody directly, but like drinking and smoking, like, not directly promoting certain behavior, but maybe behavior that they don't like. I don't do that on my channel, so in a way, it's like I'm directly approaching, but I'm not. But if YouTube does that with people like that, what's next? I mean,
But you know what was the downfall for YouTube, to be honest? Let me break it down. Back in the days, right? It was super, super difficult to get monetized because there was no regulation. You had to apply to the monetization program, and then if they say yes, you would accept it. Now they got rules and regulations, but they made it too easy, and then people are getting away. Well, like Paul and all that. I don't want to say no name, but I'm gonna mention one name for example. Paul, Logan, all that's they're doing stupidity, and then the other channel hitting their kid and all that, and then that affect everybody because there has to be rules and regulations because YouTube getting too big, so everybody want to regulate it. And I understand that all take place, but why should I suffer? Why should I get deemed for another channel? Stupidity. I know it's gonna happen sooner or later. They gotta have regulation and stability and all that because I did a test. I even search for it to see if they have porno on YouTube, and they do, and they allow it. So what's the point then?
yeah, so that was the other thing that was brought up in a couple different, but in particular, they really covered some of the areas that I didn't know on that stream. And one of the things that was discussed was, so because the people that were discussing it, those guys, Linus and Paul and Kyle, have been on here for so long. Like, they've been on here almost as long as YouTube. I mean, they're like some of the originals, like Justine from iJustine. They've been on for
Yeah,
a long time. So they know and they've experienced some of these things. So what YouTube likes to do is basically restrict everything as small down as possible and then give back things a little bit at a time. So that way they don't have the risk of getting fined, because they got $167 million fine having to do with what they allowed. And it was because they basically were saying to companies, come to us. We know you get blocked on TV. We know you can't target kids on TV. but the government has been okay with us doing what we're doing. So come to us, and you can, promote on certain channels, and we know that these channels kind of directly focus on kids. So it's like a loophole around it. Well, then they got busted. So YouTube basically is like, well, we don't want to have that happen again. But one of the things that they brought up that it might be frustrating, but on the other hand is I have 152 subscribers, but I'm at almost 14,000 views, which isn't a lot. But what if every single one of those 14,000 views was a child and I got fined for those? The fine for each view like it was like $41,500. It's cool.
Correct.
I can't
Something
afford
like that.
I can't afford 14,000. I can't afford nearly $500,000 in fines. I'd have to close my channel and basically probably go to jail for not being able to pay the fines. Like that's what would happen. So
Yeah, but
imagine
go
an
ahead.
even larger channel. So YouTube is basically saying we don't want that creator to be punished, and we're going to try to prevent as much as possible because the government's going to go after YouTube first because they have the money. It's like you go and you buy a product from a store, right? You go to Meijer, and let's say you buy a can of vegetables from Meijer, and that can of vegetables makes you sick. Who are you going to go after? Are you going to go after, like, let's say it's some small company, like some small newer company that Meijer has brought in? Are you going to go after them? Probably not. You're probably going to go after Meijer because you know that they have the money. So YouTube, being that they're the platform that kind of controls what is allowed on there, means that the government's probably going to hit them first because they're always going to be they're going to be the top dog. No matter how big of a channel you are, YouTube's going to be bigger because they're taking 30% of everything from everybody. They're a multi-billion-dollar company, so they're probably going to get hit first. And I think YouTube doesn't want to have that happen again, and it's bad publicity for them. But on the other hand, one of the things that was brought up is if you create a login for a kid for their phone and you put in their correct birthday information, it won't even let you sideload. Like if you try to go on to like APK Mirror or one of those and sideload YouTube and install it, when you go to sign in, you will still be blocked from any non-kid, anything that's not on YouTube Kids. Like if you set it up by default so that your kid only has access to not the regular YouTube but the YouTube Kids, it will block it. So, but the concern was that YouTube was allowing content on the YouTube Kids side that shouldn't have been on there, and that's
Correct.
mainly why they got fined. It had nothing to do with like the side I'm on right now. Like,
I got a question. If you are a content creator, but you are a kid under the age of 13, because that's the law that you need to be a YouTuber, because I've seen channels with 2 million, almost 2.5 million, and they're kids. So how that pretend? Because they're breaking the law. They let the kid be on the 13 be a YouTuber. There's a lot of channels like that.
so as
So
far
that's
as
my
I
question. I'm
know,
confused with that. I'm
as
confused.
far as I know, how that works is technically the parent has to be the one the is like managing, controlling, shooting. They have to be involved in the channel, and they have to
True.
like appear. That's why you notice like well, like the examples I gave earlier, like Familia Diamond is a huge one, and I mentioned them because I mean they're big. They give away devices. They do a lot of things, and they're one of the channels that I know of all family involved. But the daughter has her own channel, but it's all controlled by the parents, and they're all like involved in it too.
Yeah,
But
but you're breaching the contract because the contract say 13. I know the parents got their name, and they the main provider and the name on the form, but you still it's all they're appearing because they have to. But it's the kid's channel. You know what I mean? He's the one bringing the views.
yeah,
So that's
technically,
what I'm confused.
it's a bit of a loophole. So
Hmm.
basically, um, when as far as I know, or at least as far as I've seen when I read through some of the documentation for, um, like the agreement that you make when you create your channel, and then when you go to stream, the stuff that you agree to, um, the terms and conditions, you um, have to say that if there's kids like showing up on the content, because I had to be careful when I did a video. I actually had to look this up. So when I did a video comparing, this is the iPhone versus Note 10, or no, iPhone versus LG video. And when I was panning around with the cameras, um, my son's face was in part of it, but because I'm his parent, that's okay, and it's my channel. But like, if it's somebody else's kid, then you have to get approval. And then it can only be for a certain amount of time. It can't be direct, like for more than like 30 seconds if they're underage, unless you specify in your information that kids appear, and then you have to block comments from the video and stuff like that. I mean, I know there's channels that um, most of their videos comments will be open, but then they'll have like their family on, and when their kids appear, then the comments are turned off for that video because you have to go in and specify, like,
Yeah,
when you
particular video.
upload the video, right in there you can click, children will appear in this video, and block comment, and then comments are automatically blocked. um, but then I've seen, like you brought up, I've seen ones where there's issues with parents creating channels, letting their kids on there, and then comments are still open, and
Oh
they're not
wow.
supposed to be. Like, and I get why it is, because there's some pervy people out there. Let's just put it that
Hmm.
way. And they don't want kids having to deal with that and harassment. And I mean, you can turn on filters, but there's still stuff that will pass it. Like, in an adult channel, somebody can make a comment about, like, people do it all the time. Oh, you look nice in that dress, or you look cute, or whatever, you know, because there'll be channels that will say, hey, what do you think of my dress? Or what do you think I look? That's
Yeah,
appropriate
like
that's
yeah,
appropriate for an
fashion.
adult.
Hmm.
So I don't know if YouTube's algorithm is going to miss that if the channel says that it's designed for adults, but kids are on there. It's not going to filter it out, where there's a reason they block comments for kids if any kids under the age of 13 show up. For one, it's contractual. It's a legal thing, because you can't contractually, you're not obligated to anything at the age of 18 in most states. Some states, the age of 16, like for performance and like modeling and things like that.
Hmm.
But online, you can't, technically, you're not allowed to have a Facebook account, a Twitter account, Instagram, YouTube, Gmail, anything like that. If you're under the age of 13, you're not supposed to have an account. And that's partially a legal thing, and it's slightly different than, um, because it's considered media. So there's different policies. As far as I've found, YouTube being considered a media outlet is different than, um, other contractual and other legal things. That's my understanding.
Yeah.
So, what do you think? I actually thought of this a while back, of the potential that because smartphones are
Can you repeat that over? Because you break down. I couldn't hear
oh
you.
sorry, I just saw a message pop up. Anyways, so smartphones are kind of reaching their maximum potential almost. Like battery life and cameras and stuff are getting really good. I mean, don't you agree that there's kind of minor things that really can be changed at this point that,
Yeah, me too.
if you look at Apple, LG, Samsung, Huawei, Xiaomi, all these companies, that all the phones are basically the same now for the most part, or very close. So what I wonder and I see in the future of is that um, what our phones do is actually less and less on the phone side itself and more cloud-based. So, for example, Samsung Dex is great, and AI technology is great, and um, object recognition and things like that, and voice to text, and all this technology that's coming out is great. But what I see more in the future is that basically the phone you have, what differentiates it is slight hardware stuff. So imagine, here's my Note 10, my Note 10 Plus. So imagine a future where the hardware itself for cameras is what differentiates models, and the processor slightly, but instead of buying um, substantial built-in storage like 256, 512, 1 terabyte, whatever, and varying RAM, all the models are basically the same. And what you pay for is a subscription per month, access to that hardware, and access to servers to assist with software with things like AI, voice recognition, all that stuff that the companies are starting to put on the phone. I see a future where that's off the phone. That way, whoever um, you allow to have access to it essentially has the power of the same device. So, like, um, let's say, um, basically, my wife wants access to the same things I do, but I want better cameras. So I buy this device because it has the better cameras, good screen, good processor. But let's say she doesn't need as many cameras. She just wants one camera on her device. She doesn't need all the RAM. She just needs a basic device. She could do that, but with things like 5G and that low latency access to servers, and um, the more fluid that connection is made, she and I would have the same other benefits in that all my photos that I take are, I mean, it's already kind of there. We already have that where like all my photos that I take sync up through Google Photo or iCloud, and if she's logged into it, the same thing. But I see more of a future of kind of like how have you heard of Shadow, the company where you can pay per month and you can access like a high powered PC from like a low powered computer at home? You access it on like a server, but you have your own machine.
Yeah, I heard something like that.
So what about that with phones? So the idea that if hardware changes you don't have to necessarily buy a new phone. So you just pay a service every month, and then that gets upgraded as a server. And if everybody has decent internet access, then you're good to go. There still might be a model out there that, I mean, you still are going to get a good device. Like, you're still going to need enough power to make that connection. You're still going to need good radios. You're still going to need good processing to do stuff on board on the device. But things that are like 3D modeling and some of these um, could be done as part of a service. So that way, everybody gets a basic device.
Well,
But
I,
if
go ahead,
you
and then I'll give my
need
2 cents.
better hardware than I need, you just pay a little bit per month for additional hardware and software access remotely.
Yeah, I get it. But let me give you my 2 cents. I'm seeing different. I see you, okay, you could buy whatever phone you want, but the new thing for me, the new future is going to be wearables. Let me explain. Glance information at your fingertip. For example, we got that watches, smart watches. So we're not going to be on our phone a lot. Yes, we're going to have the good camera, good battery, but the future for me is when wearables and less worry about your phone. To be less connected, you know what I mean? Less dependent on the phone and more dependent. Oh well, I don't need to carry my phone. I could carry my watch. I could hear everything, or I got glasses to give me information at a glance.
Yeah.
So it's in different situation. If I'm driving, the glass is not going to be information because they're going to know that I'm driving, so it's not safe. So that way you'll be more efficient because 5G is a good thing. It's not only for phones, it's also for the medical industry and different stuff. But let's give an example. If you have a highway and it's congested, that's the same thing going to happen with 5G. When 5G get full implemented, everybody going to be there. No matter how fast, it's going to be the same thing as 4G. Because at one point, it's going to slow down because of too many people. You see, that's why every year and every decade or every some amount of years, we get more better hardware, we get more better infrastructure because we have to, because it's peaking, everything peak at a point. So I think wearable is the next logical thing for me.
Yeah. So what I was going to get to, what I was kind of getting to, and you kind of hit on that point too, is
Mhm.
that our phone becomes more, and our devices become more or less varying in what they do, and that they're just another interface to the same kind of um, experience. So, for example, um, phone calls, right? You can have your watch and your phone and your computer. Like I have, if you were to call me right now, with the exception my iPad's upstairs, but it would ring on my watch, it would ring on my phone, and it would ring on the computer that I'm using right now, and my iPad upstairs would all ring because they're all signed into my iCloud. But
Right.
imagine that you don't have to do that. Imagine that, I mean, you do, you sign in, but it's all just done. So it doesn't matter because what it does is it calls to whatever devices you've given access. So instead of having to have a cell chip, every device would have just have access to that 5G. And by doing that, whether it's direct connection to 5G or like a point at your home that reaches up to 5G and then your devices connect to that, because that reduces bandwidth as well. Because instead
Mhm.
of having 20 devices in your house individually connected to a tower, you have one device going up to the tower and then 20 devices pulling off from that one. Um, so that way, if only 10 of the devices at one point are using connection, if they're all cellular, they're all connected whether they're being used at not or not. But when you have a Wi-Fi point at home, that's less pull on that 5G network. But anyways, that no matter what you're sitting at, you have access to all of that because of it being cloud-based, and you have access to all that potential power because whatever is in front of you is enough to connect to that. But if all the computing is being done remotely, then when you snap a photo, if that connection is fast enough, if it's having to do really intense mathematical interactions like combining pixels together even better than it already does, it can do that remotely. So it's less reliant on the hardware in your pocket than it is that up there. The real issue with that is privacy, though. Because if every device has access to that. But the cool thing is, you break your phone is just the basic hardware connection to it, like your smartwatch would be. So it wouldn't be as expensive to manufacture. And yeah, companies might not like that, but think about it this way. Right now, you pay for service LTE data on your phone, and you pay for Wi-Fi at home or whatever. And then if you have a monthly payment for your phone, you pay for that. But when one is paid up, you're good to go. So like, for example, as soon as your phone is paid off, you can just keep using that hardware and your monthly cost goes down because now you're only paying for the connection. Or there's people that pay for a whole year at a time because they don't need a lot of data on their phone because they have Wi-Fi at home. So they pay for like Mint Mobile or something like that, where you can pay for like a whole year for like $100 and some. But if the device was cheaper to manufacture because the software side of it was mainly hosted on servers, so they don't have to necessarily push out updates to everybody to their device. They can just push it to a server and then you're updated. And the better the server, then your device gets better. Then you would be paying every month, and it could be cheaper overall, but the maintained payment over time would be better. For example, I pay $41 and change a month for my iPhone, and then I pay so much for the plan and so much for device access fee. So let's say I pay $100 a month for my phone and connection. But it only will ever be what it is right now. My phone only ever has its hardware that it has now. It only ever can do the maximum potential of how the software can be optimized for the hardware on the device. And when it's paid off, I only ever have what I have. Yeah, cloud computing can be upgraded, but if my device is just a basic access, let's say my device, I can go and pay $200 for it and I get good enough cameras. I can get the good hardware camera sensor and a good enough processor and enough RAM and a basic storage. For let's say I shell out $200 for the phone, but then I pay every month. Let's say I pay $50 every month and I get access to the data. I get access to cloud computing. I get access to hardware that as it gets updated, it gets better. If I continue to pay $50 out to, let's say AT&T for connection, or let's say it's to Apple, I pay it to Apple, and Apple has a deal with AT&T where AT&T is the infrastructure that's providing the data connection to me. Then I'm paying for essentially hardware and software almost as a subscription, because when newer server hardware is pushed out, it's like I'm getting an upgrade. But if I'm doing that for 20 years, that's a lot better than if I am only paying $100 a month right now, but then once my phone is paid off, I go and I only pay, let's say, for service, I pay $25 a month. They would rather be able to have you perpetually pay an amount than you decide you're just going to hold on to your phone because it's going to cost you less the next month, right? Because there's people that do that. Like I know you just you pay whatever for your service, your phone that you have. If you paid off, you don't pay anything on your phone monthly, do you? Like for the device?
No, I finished paying off last month.
Yeah, so you're just paying for service. But what if you could pay $20 more a month, but know that when AI technology is pushed out, you're going to get it. You guaranteed. You'd probably do that because you know you don't have to upgrade the hardware down the line necessarily. But that's $20 a month that is being paid more now than worried about later you not paying it. So the company's basically not having to charge as much per month and still making more in the long run.
Yeah, I do get it, but the only concern is the infrastructure of the offline, like, the data centers to get all the information.
Mm-hmm.
So, the only big company that has that really is it's Google, Apple, stuff like that. So not everybody could do that. A small, like, all those small companies can't do that yet. So that's the only thing. And also, like you said, a breach of security because now you're more vulnerable. People could find information more faster than hacking.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like a give and take. You know what I mean? I see where you're coming from. It got pros and cons.
Yeah. Well, I see it
You
as a
know,
mutual thing, but because on-device side right now, I think has gotten to the point where it's really good, and like software updates are getting better. But if um yeah, I guess I see where you're going. It's kind of the idea of the Chromebook and why that failed.
so another example, we had the perfect phone, but it never came to fruition. Let me explain which phone. It's called Project Aura, because Project Aura it was a modular based phone. It was a concept somebody did it online for fun, and then Google tried to maintain it, but it's like building your own computer, but they don't want to do that because then company will lose money. See, only companies that do modems will get money. Companies that do cameras, but the whole company want to sell the whole phone as one unit and make more money.
That's
So that's
true.
why they're constant haven't come to life. They fail because it's just all about money. They're trying to get the more money they can.
But if you think about this now that Apple
Mm,
bought, because they bought um, the modem side from Intel,
correct.
and they don't directly make the silicone for their phones. I mean, that's licensed from companies like TSMC and some of these things. But the fact that they're starting to, I mean, they're even in talks to building their own glass, doing their own glass for their displays and like the touch panels and things like that. So
Mhm.
if Apple basically could manufacture all the parts, well, they kind of already do this, but more directly, then those companies are still going to get the money because they're still going to have to upgrade servers. They're still going to have to, it just will be a shift from upgrading because if you think about it this way, you're not going to
Mhm.
upgrade you're not going to upgrade your phone every year if you're not going to upgrade it. But with this, at least, if servers are being upgraded more often, those companies are actually getting contracts to provide, because you got to think, yes, one server can pump out information to multiple phones and things like that, but server hardware has got to be more expensive than phone hardware.
Correct.
But the benefit to the companies is, if I'm Apple, I can say, hey, guess what? Um, this new chip came out. Like next year, AMD came out with their 4000 series chips. and we're going to use those in our servers. Well, then everybody who's connected to us gets an upgrade immediately. You don't have to upgrade your phone, but you're paying every month. But if you don't need that, you could still stop paying it. You could be like, well, what I have on my phone is good enough. So
Yeah, but
I
in
think it would
reality,
still
go
remain the
ahead.
same as what we're doing now. I've just kind of, it would still be basically the same as what we're doing now, because people are just going to not pay it. If they don't need the subscription, they're not going to pay it. It would just be, rather than not upgrading the hardware, they just wouldn't pay for access to the hardware. They would just be like, hey, my phone is fine.
Yeah, I get where you're coming from, but to break it down, they're gonna make you upgrade because that's all companies all about making money. They're gonna force you to the, whatever tier they're gonna give out for your cloud storage or whatever. They're gonna force you. They'll be like, okay, you only allowed 2 years. We're getting away with this, but you cannot do 3 or 4 years because practically, if they're gonna lose money, so they have to reinforce something. Companies, I mean, logically, common sense, companies are here for money. You know what I mean? If I'm an owner, I don't want to lose money because you could pay the less payment for 5 years. And if I force you to go to the payment of the next tier, then I'm making money for 5 years. See, you get where I'm coming from?
Yeah. The only way they would be
So
able to the only way they'd be able to get away with it is make it basically so that your hardware isn't useful unless you're paying that software subscription. But then for people that don't have a good enough connection, they wouldn't have a useful device. It would be like the reason why it would be like me buying the Note 10 Plus and the iPhone that I bought because I need to have that stuff on the device versus me going and buying a $150 Motorola phone. Not that it's not good, but if I need something on device to be good because I don't have good internet connection, I'm going to pay
right.
more. So that's
Mhm.
still going to be a problem unless everybody had ridiculously fast internet. But I mean, I
Yeah, if you
think
could.
we're going to see more of a combined of the two ideas. We're going to be seeing what we
Mhm.
have already, and then there's going to be more and more cloud stuff. So, like, for example, you're driving down the road, and or I'm driving down the road, and my wife needs access to something. Um, she can just sign in and have access to it. She doesn't have to have my phone because it's all in the cloud. That already happens, but as more and more stuff like that occurs with other things, like for example, TVs becoming smarter. Like I think Apple's going to release an actual smart TV since they um, are now letting companies like LG and Samsung and Vizio um, license the AirPlay technology. I think what's next is the whole interface being built into a TV. So then you get a call and it pops up on your TV and you can answer it like over on your HomePod or something without, because you can already do that with your phone.
Sure.
But I see everything being that interface more than just your computer. I see them adding that into the Apple TV. I see it being everywhere. Your car, not just by having to necessarily pair your phone to your car, but like even in a standalone way. Like it doesn't matter where your phone is. You left your phone at home, but because it has connection, because you can already do this. If you leave your iPhone at home, as long as
Apple
it's
Watch.
connected, your Apple Watch will connect to it. Your iPad will connect too through the
Correct.
internet. Well,
And
so
laptop.
if your car is connected, same idea. So that's where I mean, that's kind of the point I was getting at is,
Yeah, but also you got to think about it that 5G at its infancy it's gonna be good because it's gonna be fast. It's not congested. Once it become fully implemented, there's gonna be more people on it. So it's what I'm saying. It's like when you form a line for the first time.
yeah,
It's an example. You know, to buy a phone like iPhone, whatever day, you get the first person, get the second, and as the day progress, you get more and more. So 5G is gonna get more congested. If it if it if you have too many people and you don't have a strong connection, depending, because you say it depends on your internet connection and towers, then those services, because not everybody live in a good area. Some people live in the mountain, some people live in rural areas, you know. So
That's true.
it's a good service to a certain point. I see both. I see your point, and I see the pros and cons of it, and that's what I'm trying to get at. Because if those services do exist, then it's gonna be a problem because you're shifting the whole narration of the story to another platform, basically on another platform of doing things. So therefore, people are gonna suffer, not because it's new, because it's just the area you live. Everything is dependent on towers.
Yeah. The one thing though that's different with 5G than 4G is each each
Latency.
well, and each connection point is capable of handling a higher number of devices. So it's something like, was it one the potential goal of 5G, not what they're using right now, but what's going to be coming like over the next year and like 5 years
Correct.
is you have one point that can provide coverage for like 10 square mile, like was it it's like 10 miles in each direction around it, and can provide connection for up to, it's like 10 million people or something like that from one point. That's the potential. Right now it's limited to like you have to be within a couple blocks. Trees can block it, rain can block it. A building, you could be, slightly around the corner of a building, it can block it. Um, but the bandwidth that it can handle and the number of devices it can handle is substantially higher. But I think the more significant part of it is because its initial bandwidth is higher, is home internet usage, so that we're all on one company. So you don't have different home internet than you do for your phone. And
But
you have like a
go ahead.
hotspot at home for your devices to connect to that don't have cellular built in. So like your computer or your TV or whatever that don't have it built in. So you all get it through one service. So that way, um, because Wi-Fi is always more battery friendly than typically than cellular is. I mean, it's just
Correct.
the way it is. So then when you get home, your phone switches to that because it also means, like, think about New York City, how many devices, if every device was always connected to 5G, it's going to crash any good system, even the best system is probably going to crash. So if at home, you're still connected to that, but through like a middleman,
Correct.
then if one now maybe 1/10 of the number of devices are connecting because they're connecting hotspots connecting up to 5G, and then 10 devices are connected to that or more. Like businesses will have like hundreds of devices that are connected to um, a router instead of connected straight, you know, straight to the
But
internet.
yeah, but also we're thinking about cell phone. But 5G is going to be everywhere. It's going to be every industry, even the medical industry. So we got to think about that too. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
that's true. But I
So
I see it as like what companies are already trying to do, where you get in your car and there's a hotspot in your car. There's actually a company
correct.
that already did this. There was a company that has been testing this. They tested this. My dad actually got to see it put in play. He used to work for the state of Michigan, so he got to see it put in play when he was traveling, and it was out, I think, in Colorado. They were demonstrating, and basically, on the side of a building was this object that looked like about the size of a Rubik's cube, and that would connect to a tower, and then it would forward the data. But in your car, you had something that was about the size of a sugar cube. And what happened is that acted as the same kind of thing, but your
The
device is
hub.
connected to that, like a little hub. So when you get in
Hmm.
your car, because cars provide interference with signal to begin with, but also then for you, let's say you, wife, kids, whatever, whole family connects to one point, so it reduces the number of devices that are drawing off from the 5G initially to all connecting to that one point.
But my question is, in that hub, how strong is the hub? Because that depends on the durability of the service of the hotspot.
Um,
See,
well,
always gonna be
now it's
something.
probably even better. Back then, it was like it could be 3 times stronger than the typical um, connection in the area off from this little point. So like in their area, their average connection overall was like if you included just like cell tower coverage,
Mhm.
it was like 10 megabit. But with this, you were able to get 30 in your car.
Mm.
But you got to think this was a while back. This was a while ago. So with 5G, it's got to be even better.
True.
And the other thing about doing this is basically this hooks in your car, and then there's an antenna that's outside your car, and it uses magnets. So it's using conductive to basically pass through the data.
Mhm.
Um, so you don't have the interference of the metal on the inside of your vehicle either. So initially, that's already going to be a boost, even if it was using the exact same technology we have today for 4G. My concern is 4G is lacking. So, like around here, Verizon gets broader coverage into more areas typically, but it also doesn't tend to be as high of speeds. Where I'll have areas that I would have gotten good coverage on Verizon, but I might drop on AT&T, but I get stronger signal like inside the house and around here than I do like with like my mom's iPhone is on Verizon. I've done speed tests and stuff. So my concern is if it's that point with 4G and LTE, is it going to be even worse with 5G? Or, um, I mean, somebody the other day actually said something and it made sense to me that 4G will become the new 3G. So
Correct. I agree.
when 4G came out, 3G was basically improved because all the bandwidth was removed from 3G and pushed to 4G, or a lot of it was.
Mhm.
So then when 5G comes out, 4G should become better because you'll
But
be
even
pulling
though,
bandwidth off once those 5G devices are released.
yeah, but LTE, because it stands for long term evolution,
Yeah.
even has not, it's not because at full potential yet. I mean, it's advanced, but it's not 100% full potential. I know 5G is going to be better, of course, but I just got to see how it played out. Not right now, 'cause it's going to be good at the beginning. It's going to good. It's going to grow, but I want to see what happens within the next 6 7 years. How sustainable, how better it gets. You know what I mean?
So my thought is then the more devices that are put on 5G, then that means if I'm sitting here 4 or 5 years down the road from now, and let's say I've held on to my iPhone 11 Pro Max, I should potentially have better signal on that because more people will be using 5G and less will be using LTE bandwidth. So I should be able to see more open bandwidth in that spectrum, I would think.
But how long LTE going to be before it's phased out?
A while because I mean we still have 2G and stuff that's being used in some areas. And as far as I could understand, the first that would be phased out is like the really old like 1X and 2G and like
Correct.
home is what they call it on some like track phone and some of them call it home, which is like it's HSPA, which is a variant of LTE, a variant of 4G, but it's not as powerful as like the 4G LTE. That those will be phased out. That 3G will remain in areas where you need some data connection, but 4G LTE and 5G aren't strong. And then as 5G and LTE gets better, then 3G will become less and less. It'll be, and then by the time 6G is out, 7G, whatever it's called at that point, 3G and 4G will basically be gone. Everything will be you know, at that point, hopefully the slowest speeds we see are maybe 100 megabit. Like what would be really fast, what's considered quite fast now, will be slow at that point. I mean, if you think about it, it was only 15 years ago that 1.5 megabit per second on like home, like DSL was fast.
Oh yeah.
And now I'm sitting here with streaming connection at 60 megabit, which I did the math. That is so that's 40 times, that's 1200 times the speed of what dial-up was. Like when we had dial-up, the maximum, like the 56K stuff.
Mm-hmm. 56K modem.
That 1.5 megabit was considered 30 times faster than that. And then there's people sitting here with stuff that they have stuff that's 1,000 times faster than that. Like there's people that have fiber that have 1,500 megabit stuff. That's just crazy. I mean, the cell chip that's in my Note 10 Plus and the one that's in my iPhone, those have potential speeds of reaching what like 5G is testing at right now in a lot of areas. Like those can get up to over a gigabit. Like if you look at the specs, those can potentially get up to like, what was it 1,400 to 1,500 megabit per second connection on LTE. 5G basically is making the promise of what 4G was supposed to be, that's what I feel like.
Yeah, it's true. I agree, but it's like, for example, like I'm gonna compare it to the MacBook. If you got a boost in the MacBook, right, the 16, it'll boost for 30, 40 seconds and it'll come down fast. So you got to look at that. So maybe the 5G is going to be like that. Boost when you need to boost quick and then come down quick. So,
well, the thing is, I think it's more significant with latency than it is with actual potential speed, in that instead of like I do a speed test and I'm lucky if I get like the fastest I think I've seen is like 7 millisecond. Usually it's like 30 or 40 milliseconds, where 5G is supposed to be almost instantaneous. Like right now they're getting down to millisecond level, but the potential will be that it will be sub millisecond. So you'll be down to what would be beyond a millisecond. Like almost instantaneous. Like the speed will be fast enough that when you, based on frame rates of data recording and like the human eye, you won't be able to tell. Like
now, okay, man, go ahead. I got a question.
Like if it will get to the point where, because if you think about it, 1 millisecond, when I'm streaming to you 720p, if that's 720p, 60 frames per second, or 60 hertz, 1 millisecond is faster than what I'm streaming to you at. Technically, because that's 1,000th of a second. So that's 1/16 of the speed of the frame rate of what we're streaming right now, potentially.
Correct. But my question is, like, the more you have speed, the more that you're gonna be work. Like, it depends. It depends what environment you are. But for a working environment, I think boss is gonna expect more out of you because you got more speed, so you could send more information and more data can get through.
Potentially.
So
yeah.
So therefore, the infrastructure is all gonna change. But I think also I'm gonna about this both sides. What happened with the money, with the payment, Like for example, your check is it gonna go up because you're working more because you got more speed, the minimum wages. You got to look at. I'm looking at life, the whole thing. Because 5G gonna get impact in every area. You know what I mean?
So
The more
what you're
faster data you have, the more information you could travel, the more stuff you could do. So the more you, probably you be like, okay, instead of doing one job, you could do 5 jobs.
so I think it varies. So if you're like, let's say you're in a job where you're paid by the hour, well, your question is, so I sit down and um, you know, Lewis, I understand I've been paying you. I understand I've been paying you. Let's say it's $20 an hour to edit videos and upload. Let's say that's cheap. I know,
Mm-hmm.
but for
It's an example.
but for my example, I need to start at a low price, at a moderate. But if on 5G, you're able to upload and get stuff processed faster, because let's say a bunch of your time is sitting there waiting for stuff to upload so that you can review it before you can process. Yeah, you're doing stuff in the background because hopefully I would be providing you with a decent enough computer that you could continue to do what you're doing, and then you check back on the upload, and you know you'd work on another project. But if you're working remote, 5G would be great. So if in the same amount of time you could put out 5 times the amount of work, in theory I should be paying you $100 an hour now.
Correct.
But my guess is it would be more like I'll pay you $50 an hour, because there's maybe, what if only 20% of your work is actually the upload? So just because, in that instance, just because speeds are improved doesn't mean you're going to be able to edit any faster, because the software would have to be faster, hardware would have to be, it would be an overall update experience. If I went from like the MacBook Air I'm using to like one of the new Mac Pros spec'd out, in that instance, yeah, you're going to be able to do more work. But just because I provide you with faster internet connection doesn't mean it's going to improve your work 5 times as much. But those are also instances where sometimes you're paid by the hour and sometimes you're paid by the job. Like, for example, um, you have you seen the channel The Reds?
I don't
Um,
think so. Why do you look at it?
they were on a stream with Viper a couple weeks ago, and
Mm-hmm.
they were in Japan in some different areas. Anyways, they do
Oh, the
videography
Reds,
and they do editing and stuff.
Christina. Yeah,
Yeah.
I watch it all the time.
So, but they probably get paid per job.
Yeah, they
So
do.
like, I'm gonna hire Christina and she's gonna edit for me. I'll pay her $20,000 to edit this video. That
Sarah
or
Dishu.
that's how. So if she does it faster, then that means she can go work for somebody else because she's got it done and she can go get somebody else's job. But let's say for her to do that $20,000 work, it cost her $5,000. So she's only getting a benefit of 15 grand. She could do 5 of
Mm-hmm.
those in a year and get $75,000, right? What if that's all she needs? But on the other hand, she could do twice as many and get twice as much. But just because she works twice as much doesn't mean she's necessarily going to earn twice as much if it doesn't improve the amount of time it takes to do it. You know, if she works 80 hours a week, but it still takes her 5 weeks to get a project done, she's still going to only earn that same amount of money.
Yeah, I get your point. It
But then there's
depends.
other aspects where, like, if I'm sending stuff back and forth with you, like, let's say, for example, you helped me with my logo.
Mm-hmm.
If that data transfer was so much faster, basically, I mean, you can do this already, but I would be seeing it in live time
Mm-hmm.
editing. You'd be doing your edits, moving things or whatever, and I'm seeing it in live time. That's so much more beneficial over time. those minutes add up. And that I could say, oh, well, I'm going to pay you, instead of paying you, let's say I said I'm going to pay you $20 to do a logo because it's only going to take you an hour.
Mm-hmm.
But if that only takes you, instead of it taking you an hour, it takes you 12 minutes, then you can go to 4 other people, and instead of making $20 for that hour, you've made $100 for that hour. So it's not necessarily that I'm paying you more, but that you're able to receive more because you're able to go out and reach out to more people over time, is the other benefit. Or
True.
if I need multiple things done from you, in turn, I'm going to end up paying you more per hour because you're going to get it done faster. You know, if I say to you, I need you to create a logo, and I'm going to start a new YouTube. Let's say I say I'm going to start a new YouTube channel. I'm going to have my tech channel. I'm going to have a photography channel. And then I'm going to have a music channel. And then I'm going to have a everyday in the life of Michael channel. And I'm going to have an interview channel. And let's say I'm going to have 5 channels. I don't know why I would do this to myself, but let's say I'm going to have 5 channels. I could say to you,
There's people that are doing it.
like, I could say to you, I need a logo for each of those. I need an intro and I need an outro. I need a banner. Also, I'm going to need you to come out. I'm going to need you to fly out here once a month, and help me with some editing and some things like that I'm working on. Well, I would pay you for each of those, and then I would be able to pay, you would be earning more per hour if you can communicate with me faster. And after all, data speeds are about communication. That's what we're doing right now.
Yeah,
Every aspect
efficient.
of it, whether it's direct or indirect, is communication. Even if I just post a video, people are going to comment, people are going to view it, or people might make a response video. That's communication, whether it's right now or later. There's everything we do is some form of communication. So the faster
True.
you make it, the more you can earn off from it. So it's not necessarily a direct, like you're thinking of. It's kind of an indirect reaction. But then there's certain things that aren't going to really be affected by it much at all. Because if you think about,
Oops.
Can
you hear me?
Yeah.
Sorry.
For example, if I need to download something, I need to upload something, having speeds are going to make it a lot better. But if my job doesn't rely on that, all it's going to do is not necessarily make it faster. It could make the quality better. Like, for example, instead of me streaming in 720p on StreamYard, I could potentially be streaming in like 4K at 60 frames per second, buttery smooth. But it's still going to take me the same amount of time. I mean, I've been on for almost an hour and 23 minutes and 30 seconds. It's still an hour, 23 minutes and 30 seconds. Just because I have better connection wouldn't make our conversation happen any faster.
Yeah, I mean, I agree because it depends on the person's set of skills too. You know, and the equipment that we got to take in a factor to be more efficient. I mean, I agree because because there's 2 editors. I'm A and B. If B is better than A, so B is gonna get things faster. So B is gonna get paid more because B is doing it faster. I get your point.
Yeah, it depends on what you're doing. Like you said, like I said,
It depends because there's banking jobs. It depends. I mean, data transfer. It depends.
If you can remote access, for example, let's think about this. Right now, in order for me to do some mathematical computational stuff, I might have to set up like a server, or set up like, let's say, 10 computers decked out with high-end processors and graphics cards and displays and stuff to show all the data, and maybe hire some people.
Yeah, network.
But what if I could do that remotely? So what if I could, instead of having to pay for that hardware, instead of having to go out and be like, I gotta shell out $500,000 in hardware, because that's probably what it would be. Like, easily you could spend $50,000 on a single machine. People do it for mathematical computational stuff because they're making money off from it. You know, you make $100,000 an hour doing crazy computational stuff. Like, that's what Bitcoin is and all that, you know, computational.
Yeah.
But there's other computational aspects. But if instead I could take money and spend, let's say, $1,000 a month for getting really, really fast fiber internet and like 10 gigabit, my own 10 gigabit wired connection brought into my office, and then I could connect remotely to a service or to a server,
Mhm.
that would probably be cheaper because they're able to provide it because they're providing to, let's say, 10,000 people, so they can keep that cost down, where for me to go buy that hardware is going to be expensive. But they're able to buy in mass from the company directly. So that potential could be huge. And then when I need to upgrade, I just pay a service to upgrade.
Yeah, but
Now,
then you need
I
then
would
you
probably
go ahead.
I probably wouldn't, in that aspect you might not do it, but you never know. What if I'm just starting out and I only need one computer, but I need it to be really good, but I don't have $50,000, but I have $12,000, so I can pay $1,000 a month until I can then afford to, and then I can take the money that I'm earning and turn around and put that into 2 or 3 machines and then do it myself. So data speeds are important then, because every millisecond I'm making money.
True.
I think it just depends on what you're doing.
Yeah, it depends. Yeah, it depends what kind of job. But if you're being an offline editor, like you said, I mean, you have to relay the information, so that's taking time away from you, unless you delegate the job to another person. Be like, okay, this is all my footage that I did. I give it to you, and you transfer it to another person. So you pay that person like less money because they're not doing a lot. They're just giving it to the editor, and then you do other job because you could do your emails or something else because you don't have to focus on the area. It's all
That's
about
true.
efficiency.
That's true. Like, I could, like, I do some beautiful, I mean, at least I think it's good photography.
Hmm.
Um, and, you know, I'm working on my being in front of the camera and doing this and
Hmm.
my editing and stuff. But what if I'm really good at the creation part, but I don't like editing, and I trust you? Like, let's say I say, hey,
Hmm.
Lewis, I need to send this to you because I know that you have a good eye for looking for mistakes in videos. You can go in, and when I stutter, you can crop that out. When I say, or you can clip it out, trim it out. Yeah, trim it
Hmm.
out. You can, every time I say, you can trim that out. You can make it look smooth. You can get my volume adjusted. You can do all this stuff. If I could pay you to do that and then go on and make another video, I'm making money. But the problem is, if I have to wait for like 3 hours for that to upload, and then once it's uploaded, you have to wait at your end for another 3 hours for that to come down. Then you have to edit it. Then you got to upload it again, and then you got to send it back to me. That's going to take forever. And
Yeah, but it depends on
and
the
even if
hardware
you're
you have.
and now on the other hand, there's other ways to do it. Like, for example, I could just offload my files
Yeah, cloud storage.
I could offload them to a server here
Hmm.
and give you remote access. So let's say that server that has a good processor and stuff in it, and then you just remotely access it. So you're actually running the editing software here, and then when you're done, you just let me know, and I just go into it. But if your connection is not fast enough, it's going to be really blurry. You're not going to be able to pull stuff. That way you can pull like one file at a time to yourself, edit it, or just do it here. If it's able to stream at a high enough quality to you, you wouldn't have to have any of that on your side. And when you're done, you just save it, and then I can directly access it here, check it, upload it. But
Yeah, but the point of check this out. The point of that, if you're gonna hire a person, you gotta make sure the equipment's up to par. You're not gonna hire a person to have crappy equipment.
well,
See,
no, but
you gotta look at the person. You're like, okay, I'm hiring you because you got the skills. So you gotta have the equipment so the transfer information from the server it go quicker.
yeah,
See, you're not gonna hire nobody like that. See, I get your point, but it does make sense to your point. But if you look at it as a business owner, for example, if you are, you're like, okay, Luis is editing for me, but he got a crappy computer. Well, I'm gonna find some another editor that could do it faster.
no, I'm not saying
If they had the same quality.
I'm not saying you have a crappy computer. What I'm saying is, if your access to me is slow, it won't matter what kind of computer you have. What I'm saying
Exactly.
is either
You gotta
way.
make sure that person got a good access. You
Like
gotta
right,
make sure.
like what I'm saying is right now, my best way would be I have good hardware here,
Mhm.
and I have decent enough internet that you can remote access in. So it
Yeah.
wouldn't matter what connection speed we have, and you have a decent enough computer, it's good to go. But if that connection is improved, then I can take benefit of your hardware. And
That's the question. You gotta make sure the connection is up to par before you hire a person.
the benefit to me though would be that I don't have to spend as much, because like people do this all the time. Like right
Mhm.
now, where they have a server and then they have people that work for them, and the
Mhm.
computers access that server indirectly. But if the
That's the same
connection is
thing that
if the
Christine.
connection is
That's the same
faster,
thing Christine is doing for Staradishi.
yeah, if the connection is better, then if you're sitting over there with a desktop computer, it doesn't matter if the connection is horrible, if it's going to take forever for it to transfer from me to you. Then benefit
But
to me would be
yeah,
to,
but you gotta make sure that the connection is good before you hire a person.
yeah, that's what I'm saying.
You,
I would. But, right now, you never know that. But as this technology expands and as our connections get better, you'll be more likely to be able to know that, and it won't matter. Like for me, then I could be anywhere. I could be out remotely shooting, and then I just send it off to you. I don't have to be like, well, you know, internet potential is only at this point, and I got to wait till I get home because my home internet's fast enough, and I'm gonna upload it to a server at home, even though Lewis has good a good computer in front of him, because what I have right now, my connection isn't good enough, so I'm gonna have him remote in, edit, and then that way it's here. But if I know that there's basically no latency, I could just send it right to you from where I am before I even get home, before and then you could do it at your end and send it back to me. So
yeah,
that saves money
yeah,
for me, because
yeah.
I don't have
That's
to rely
why.
on my hardware being good as well as your hardware being good, like in some server aspect. I do in sending it to you.
Yeah, that's why we get that. That's why everything's changing to 5G because it's gonna make it better.
So, I can,
Yeah, with time it's gonna get better. It's gonna get faster. You could do send it anything from where. But at the current state, like you said, we're not there yet. It's still a work in progress.
because even like when quite often, my kind of work pattern is that I do my videos on my phone, and then I either directly connect my phone up to my computer or I AirDrop it, so that I can, because I want to check the video out on like a larger screen or whatever.
So why didn't
And then
software you use?
and then I edit on my I'll either edit on my computer or sometimes I just edit right on my phone. And I use iMovie.
But when you edit your computer, what software is that?
iMovie.
Oh, iMovie.
Yeah, I have it on my computer and on my phone. But anyways, if data connection is improved, it would already be there. I mean, it usually is, but like it wouldn't really matter. It could be minutes and it would already be there. I mean, I have stuff sync over iCloud, but usually that takes a while and you have to be on Wi-Fi and all the limitations. So I see it as a huge potential for creators, for mathematicians, like scientific, what do they call them? Data analysts and things like that, where they need access
Oh, yeah.
to a ton of data at the same time, really fast. You know, the people that sit there with like 7 monitors up in their room, in their office, you know, they'll have 3 of them down here, 4 up above, and they're having all these screens up at the same time, and they're whether for like stock,
People day trade people's stock.
yeah.
Would be benefit.
So
Yeah, it's a lot of benefit that's coming in the future. It's just the current stage we don't have it right now. But like I said earlier, it's still work in progress. And I gave you ideas that they're good. I mean, efficient is the key of everything. If you could do something seamlessly and easy and faster, it's a benefit to all of us. It's going to be a win-win. I just want to see how the world, not the yeah, the world is going to in 10 years. How it's going to be? Is it going to be like I call you, I send you a file, and it'll be there in 2 seconds? It's scary how things are going.
so let's change topic because I know that people are
Okay.
probably gonna fall asleep. No,
Yeah,
anyways,
true.
so I got to get my hands on and use a Samsung Galaxy Fold in the AT&T store the other day,
Hmm.
and I don't know. At first, I was wondering, well, it's their display unit, so people have probably used it a ton, and you know, is that gonna affect? But I felt like it was pretty slow and laggy. Like, um, not talking about like because I folded it and I was messing around on the outside display and then open it to go to the inside. That was pretty quick, but just like compared to my Note 10 Plus, same processor, um, I felt like it's just a weird thing because does the Fold? How much RAM did they put in that thing?
I'm not sure, but I think the development for it is not there yet. So that's why maybe we laggy when you open it. You know the transition of
Well,
closing opening the
it
app.
wasn't that transition that was even slow. It was weird. It was just like
Oh,
I made sure everything was closed out of the background. It was just like opening Chrome and opening certain things in general. And I know that they
wow.
can have developer settings turned on. I wasn't taking that into play. I was just taking in general. Like I felt like it was weird. I felt like if they're gonna make a phone, well, if they're gonna make a device that's basically a tablet that folds to go in your pocket, that the experience should have been better. And I get that it's been sitting there plugged in all the time, but if you think about it, there's actually probably less use put on that than like I use on my because I'm using my phone every day, all day long. But that's only being used when somebody's in the store. So when the store is not closed or not open, the store is closed, you know, at night, when it's not busy, it's not really being used. So I would think, and I don't know, it just was odd to me. And one of my concerns with folding in particular is the way the Fold does it is it's not really a good phone when it's closed. So it's more like they're trying to give you a tablet that has data connection that you can fit in your pocket. Like that's what I feel like. It's not really a phone at all.
No, because the screen in front for me is just to glance information, just to glance. They want you to open and like you said, tablet form.
It's
And
kind of
also it's weird because if you see TK, he put a picture that his phone broke. He had in his pocket the other day.
it's weird to me because um it's like the screen on the front is small, so you use it to glance at, almost like you would do like with always on display or glancing like at your watch. But if it's in your
Correct.
pocket, you're going to take it out. And it's good so you can just glance at it because let's say you don't have a smartwatch or you need to do something on your phone. So you just take it out and you do the on your phone. But most everybody's probably going to open it up. So to me, I feel like in a way, what they should have done is why didn't they just make it so that the outside is just a really small display that gives notifications? Because that would reduce the cost. If they're not going to make it really usable, they should have just made it so that you had like maybe like a 2-inch display that gives you notifications. So you see you got a notification, then you open the thing. Because most people are going to open it anyways. If you're not going to make it so that it's usable, like Huawei with the Mate X, with their foldable, it's at least, like this when it's, turn the brightness down. It's at least like that when it's closed, but when you open the thing is when you get the real advantage of it. But the problem is it's not really a good phone and it's not really a good tablet, at least in my opinion.
Because it gets crashes.
Well, not even that, just experience-wise, like, why don't they offer, like, every Android phone you can, at least that I know of, every Android phone you can do this. Why is it going so bright? You can email on the bottom, Chrome on the top.
A split screen.
The Fold does it, but you can have one app on the right and one on the left, and then on the right hand side you can have like an app on the top and the bottom, so you can have 3 apps. But they don't have it so you can have an app like on the top and the bottom, like split screen that way. And I think that would be way more useful, especially turning the thing sideways or either direction so that you have the full width real estate. So like you could have a YouTube app playing completely across the top and then another in the bottom. It's side by side. There's no, so you'd have to, like, if you wanted YouTube large, you'd have to have it on like the left 2/3 and then do whatever else you're doing on like the right. But then as soon as you pop open a keyboard, it cuts half of your display is going to get cut off.
So my question is it needed the full? I mean, I don't know because I don't know what place it's taking in the market. I mean, what is the niche for it? I mean, it's an
To
advantage. It's going to be the future. I'm trying to see what place it's placed in the market, what it holds.
um, a device that can be larger than a Note, that can fit, that can fold narrow enough to be smaller than the Fold in width and fit in your pocket. But the problem is the
We got
interface.
Huawei,
The interface on it
7.2
isn't
inches.
even as good as. So Samsung has their tablets, like the Tab S6 and the S5e and the S4 and all those. They have some like the A tablets and stuff. But the interface on that needs to be improved. Like if I was going to get a Samsung tablet, I would probably get the S6 and I would use Dex mode on it. But like they didn't even put, like, the Fold doesn't support Dex without being docked. Like you can't just use Dex like you can on a tablet. So they're calling it a phone by treating it in the same aspect as like the S10 and the Note 10 and the Note 10 Plus and all those. But they're not treating it in the same way as a tablet would be, even though it has a large enough display. So it's in a weird point where it's like they couldn't really decide what it was. It's like Samsung. It's going to be really bad because I know I said that this is family friendly. Samsung forgot to use protection and they had an ugly child, and they're not really sure what it is.
I don't know. I mean, at
That's
the full,
that's my
As a
you.
fold being in the market, I don't see the purpose of fold phones because I don't like the implementation. They don't serve a purpose. See, they're more like they're not a solution for me. You know what I mean? Because look at Huawei. Huawei got a regular phone that is 7.2 inches, the biggest phone that I ever saw. You know, I
Hmm.
mean, what's the purpose? What's the purpose of the phone? If it's first generation, I know why it came out because he had it came out, but it's not like TK had it in his pocket and the phone broke. He got pictures on Twitter. So you know the implementation is not it's not there yet. The the structure, you know what I mean?
That's true. And
The-
then,
So I mean, I don't see the purpose of bringing that form factor if it's not going to bring the keyword value.
well, it's not bringing anything new, really, because
Correct.
it's not really a good phone and it's not really a good
It's not
tablet.
benefiting
Like, in
me.
my opinion, if Motorola with that Razr had put, like, even just the Snapdragon 845 processor, anything above the 710G processor that they put in that thing, if they had even done like an 800 series processor from even like 2 years ago, like the 835, and a decent amount of RAM, a little bit more storage, or even allowed an SD card, that thing could actually be useful because it's actually a good
But it's not.
phone. When you open it up,
It's good. But check this out. Sorry to interrupt you. Good don't mean useful because the real estate is not there. It's a lot of compromise with that phone. You see, it's just like this. It's not like this. So the real estate is gone. So therefore, see, I don't want nostalgia. I want form over. I want form. I want usability. That's what I need. See,
I don't know if you've seen, like, I've watched a
I
lot of the
seen videos.
reviews. I've watched a lot of the reviews, and one of the things I've noticed is when it's closed, kind of like how I was saying that I thought Samsung should have done. When it's closed, you get notifications, and then you can actually tap them. And when you tap the notification, then when you flip it open, it goes right in it. I know you can do that on the Fold, but
Correct.
um, the other thing it does is, and I know this is on the Fold too, is you can do like the where you can shake it and it opens up the camera and you can take photos.
Hmm.
So it's useful in the way that it needs to be when it's closed. It's not trying to act as a phone when it's closed and open, though. See, that's where I think that Samsung kind of made a mistake is they are giving you the option to use a phone interface, but it's shrunk down. You can't fit as many apps. If you use a different launcher, you have to use it on both. Like, it doesn't just work across both the closed and the open interface. Motorola at least says, hey, when it's closed, we're going to treat it more like a smartwatch. And then when you open it,
Correct.
you have a phone. And why would you fold it? Because then you can just put it in your pocket. Your screen's protected because it's enclosed.
And Motorola has a better hinge
And
mechanism.
they do. So I mean, I that's where I see the benefit, but the processor is just ugh. If they had
Yeah,
put a
but
better
okay,
processor in there, I would have.
okay. Let's say let's think hypothetically. Say they put everything there, that process and everything. I still don't see the usability because when I open it, it's skinny. It's like its own phone. I don't. I mean, it's not too much real estate to do a lot of stuff. So the app is not going to be accustomed to my form factor that I grown like 16 by 9 and stuff like that. You see, it's going to be more. I know they're going to make that apps according to their phone, but it's going to be weird size. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, from what I've seen, it's
And watching videos and all that.
from what I've seen, it's more in line of like the size of the Sony's.
I see nostalgia. I don't see practicality. I don't see usefulness. That's what I'm
Yeah.
saying. Practicalness.
Um, what I thought was kind of neat to see though was when you fold the device and you set it down on a surface, and if you're doing like a video chat, the bottom part can sit and it can sit like that. So you open it like this, and then this is the bottom. So you're looking at it basically. Um, you can use the phone to prop itself up for like video chats and stuff, and the interface moves. And they didn't really promote that much like not a lot of the reviews showed that, but way back, like a month or so ago.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you, yes. Like a month,
Can you hear me?
I can.
Okay, this is almost done. That's why.
Oh, okay. Like a month or so ago, when they leaked the Motorola had some leaks, the demonstrations they were showing were pretty neat, and they did. I feel like they pulled what so many companies do is they have these things that they create a device for, but then they don't show that in their demonstrations. You can use it for that, but they don't show it. So, like propping the device up, so if you're doing a video call, you can have the hinge split and the screen still functions. So it will like push up towards the top, and the bottom part will be your to end the video,
Dialer.
and then the top part will be the face. To do things like that,
Mhm.
at least there's some function out of it, and it functions well when it's open. It functions just like a normal Android device, and then when you close it, that function is more like a smartwatch device, where I feel like the Fold doesn't function well closed or opened.
No, I mean I get your point, but the
I don't
phone
like
has
either of
for
them.
me for me the phone has one thing. Even though it's not 100% there yet, it has more real estate. That's the only part.
Yeah,
Because if I'm typing and say I'm a business person, I'm typing, I do my emails, I don't have a big canvas. See, it's the productivity and value is not there, bringing the racer for me. You know what I mean? It had more than nostalgia. I don't know if you agree with me because it's limiting on the size. That's my concern with that phone.
that's
I've been watching
true.
a lot of tons and tons of videos, but to be productive in that phone, it don't have it. Let's say that it had everything 100% horsepower. Let's just take that out of the equation. For me, that's the part it's negative. It just don't have a lot of functionality. Yeah, they bring something in from the past. It's got nostalgia, but that's the only thing that it can benefit me. See?
Yeah, there's no. Well, it's got one camera on the front and one on the back. I mean, even if you added all that stuff in, I get what you're saying. I think though that focusing on that nostalgia in a way is almost a good thing, because think about it, like it's a good phone when it's open. It's got function when it's closed, and when you close it and it's smaller, you've protected that screen. You open it and you have a usable device that functions well in that open form. Where like the Fold, like I said, it just need they if they improved that, then I could see the benefit, and you have more screen real estate. It's two different approaches for two different things. I think though
Mhm.
with the Motorola is that because of that nostalgia, at least there's something there to work on. Where the Note or where the Fold had to prove itself, like the Fold had to prove why it was existing. Where Motorola kind of came out and said, "We made this as like an updated version of our device that released 15 years ago."
And my question is it relevant that the fold come out? Is it going to be useful in the future? They have it? They have it practicality or whatever it's called usefulness to stay in today's market to survive? Or will be just a thing that come along and leave? You know what I mean? I have a lot of questions because I don't see the benefit and the benefit and the value. I see it more for like for the Samsung type of phone like that big, but it's still not 100% there yet because if the technology is not well implemented, the hardware, then the benefits go out of the door. You see what I mean?
Yeah, I think
Is it a need or a want?
I
Is it
think
a usefulness or is it not? Is it going to be benefit in the future for the mass consumer? It's going to be adopted? Go ahead.
so my answer to that would be right now, um, with
I'm trying to charge my phone keep falling.
with how expensive it is, it's going to be hard to develop for, because you're going to only have the limited people that actually either go out and pay like $66 a month through their carrier to get the device, or bought it outright, or it was given to. And that doesn't provide a lot of data for the developers for Samsung and for app developers to use to optimize their apps. And it doesn't provide a lot of motivation because, like, if I'm an app developer, why would I adjust and update my apps to support this new format if I know it's only going to hit like what 2 or 3%?
1% of the
Like
market,
not even
2%.
1% of the market, not even 1% probably.
Yep.
Like if Samsung they have like, was it between Samsung and Apple? Samsung has like 55% market share in the United States or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Or no, yeah, they have like 50%. Apple has like 40%, and then the other 10% is other companies, like smaller, like LG and some of the other companies right now. So if Samsung, let's say Samsung has half the market share, I doubt that 2% of their devices are the Fold, because that's what it would take for them to have 1% of market share in the United, and that's just in the United States. And worldwide, their market share is even smaller. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm guessing it might be maybe a percentage of a percentage.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you convince developers to develop for that? Where with Apple, the way that they convince people to develop for iPad is they don't have to. You just click a button and it automatically does it, and then you can go in and adjust things. But iOS for the iPhone was developed first, and then they made it so it functioned well on the iPad. And now iPad OS exists, but they made it easy and they made it so that it's not like one and the same. You're not trying to develop an app that operates in 3 different ways on the same device. Where like with the Fold, you have to make sure your app runs well when it's closed, when it's open, when it's in split screen mode. It's complicated. And you're going to try to convince somebody to develop their app for that and for a fraction, less than 1% of the market. What's your motivation? Unless Google is going to be like, we're going to pay all these developers a bunch of money, we're going to pay them extra.
Yeah. Okay. So, changing a little bit the subject, so we're talking about innovation. Like, this is what I call innovation. For example, somebody do it first. Okay, it gotta be over somebody first because Apple will never do nothing first. But night mode was done on the Pixel, then everybody else picked it. That's useful innovation, right? Even though it's a software innovation. Now the notch was useful for iPhone. Everybody did it, but nobody did it the right way. You see, I like companies that copy stuff for the better, for us to better implementation and better productivity. But if it's just stuff that is not going to be useful, why the people are doing it? So what's the time?
That's true.
But sometimes companies like to try, like that hand gesture that Apple's do, that the Pixel's doing, it's been done with Samsung. Because Samsung had it in the Galaxy S4, wave the hand to palm rejection to move pages.
Yeah.
That's been done.
And
I
then
need I need practicality and usefulness that's gonna make me a better person.
and then
To them doing.
LG tried to do that with the G8, but kind of failed.
Mm-hmm.
Where I see more of a potential use of that is in like other devices, like your computer or your TV, where you can just reach up and like change the channel, or you can like swipe to change channel, or like rotate your hand to change your volume. Um, Also, um, like for changing text size. So let's say you're on your computer and you're visually impaired, you could just reach up like this and kind of move in with your hand and pull it back towards yourself, and it would make the screen bigger. So
Great topic.
gestures that are not
Great topic. Great topic. Talk about the impaired person, the hearing impaired, because those are the people that technology needs to be more implemented and better for them. But it's really not. No, because all phones, they got the accessibility and all that, but it's still not fully implemented for that type of people. You know what I mean?
well, and then there's people that have touch sensitivity issues where actually touching a device, like for example, if your phone gets warm at all, there's people that are extremely sensitive to temperature. So if you can make a device that can be navigated without touching it, that's huge. And it gives different ideas, like your phone's in front of you and you're using it, but think about how much of your device is covered by your hand when you're touching it. So if you don't have to actually touch the screen to scroll down, you could just sit here and kind of read, and like, you could have your phone in front of you and you could be sitting here and you could just go like this and it scrolls. Then I can hold my phone out in front of me and just kind of reach my hand and go like this and scroll, and I can still be looking at my phone, or my hands kind of get in the way if I'm having to touch. And then the other thing is, if you're using gloves, you got to take those off. So with so imagine this potential. Um, I know that Google doesn't have it this way, where you have to swipe up to get into the lock once the
Lost
facial recognition kicks in. It just goes right to the home page or whatever. But imagine being able to turn that off for security purposes, or you want to be able to see your notifications. So then to unlock your device, instead of having to actually swipe on the screen, you just take your hand and move it, and it does the same thing. So you don't have to take your gloves off. You can navigate pages. You can do all sorts of things. You could, with your gloves on, without having to buy, because I have gloves that have the fingertips in them, but they don't work very well for being able to move on your screen. You can't type. So you can do voice to type, which is great, but there's just still certain things right now that you have to touch the screen to do. So you have to take off your gloves, and it's really cold out. Yeah, you probably
Okay,
should.
but
So to be able to
check this out.
gesture, just for people.
When I mean disabled person, we are thinking about certain disabled person. But if you talk, let's talk about everybody. Not everybody got hands. You
That
see what
too.
I mean?
What
You
or
know, because it depends how you born. If you was in an accident, see you see that's why the phone industry it doesn't think about everybody. You know what I mean?
well, way back when you were talking about like Samsung with the S4, is they had eye gesture, or would see your eyes and the screen would move to
Yeah, but
follow your
nobody
eyes.
have implemented the correct way. It have failed. That's why it haven't taken off.
I think it's because that's so varying, and that is a minority of the people that have their devices, so they're not concentrating on it enough. They're thinking that that's not a high enough percentage, and that's a mistake, because they could pull people in by focusing on it. That's a
Yeah,
mistake to
because
think that.
I agree with you 100%. It's not a large percentage of people, but it's needed in this world. Not everybody is have every part of their body, normal.
Well, it's why people get an iPad instead of an iPhone, because it's bigger and they can just, like, if they don't have um, fine motor skills with their hands, they can just hit a part on the screen, and they don't have to be as precise, because you're talking about a much larger display. But imagine a phone. You could have this thing docked in front of you, and you could just move your, like, let's say you can't unclench your hand, you could just move your fist, you know move your fist, and it swipes up to unlock your phone. And then as far as selecting an app, um, your eyes look at a certain part of the screen, or numbers are up, and you just say the numbers. They already have that. But there are certain gestures that you still have to be able to do unless you have an accessory. Like, there are accessories that you can get where you can move things on the screen with like your eyes. Like, there's accessories that you can get where it's like a camera and it tracks your eyes. And um, there's even things like um, where it will track your head, and you move your head and then it picks an app, and then you say open or whatever, you use your voice. But what if you can't speak?
Correct.
Like, what if you can't speak? Cerebral palsy, let's say you can't speak and you can't move your hands very well. You could swipe with your fist, you could move with your eyes, and then you could just kind of go like this and select what you're looking at. It's simple. It's not even anything that has to be that precise and that complicated either.
Mhm.
And you could reach a whole world of kids too. Not even for disability, for kids.
Mhm.
Like my son, He tries to use my phone all the time, but he's not very precise. But he could use those gestures. It'd be instinctual to just kind of gesture towards something. And even as far as that, you're talking about companies not being the first. Yeah, Apple wasn't the first to do gestures. Technically, BlackBerry did that. The whole gesture navigation thing.
Yep.
But you noticed how Apple implemented it for like swiping back and swiping home and and swiping up and holding, and now Android 10 has that. Companies copy each other all the time. OnePlus has had dark mode in their operating system way back before Samsung, and then Samsung has it where you had it in One UI, and they had it even before that with their Good Luck, where you could enable, and then now it's native, and then Google's making it native. And companies copy each other because there's only so much you can do, and
I don't mind copying if it's for the better, but stuff that is not useful.
And it's how they perfect. It's competition. If companies didn't copy each other, then there would be no competition because they wouldn't be competing. So.
Well, we've only had 2 hours.
Yeah, I'm gonna head off. So it's been good talking with you. I'll probably be on. I'm gonna probably be back.
Because it's good to go 2 hours. Okay, to 9 o'clock. I don't know what time zone. I'm Eastern time.
Yeah, that's what I'm on too.
Yeah, 2 hours okay.
Yeah, and then people can watch, and also there's probably gonna be other people on tonight, and so I'm probably gonna do this. I'm trying to decide now because there aren't a lot of people that are on Thursdays around this time, but there also aren't a lot of people watching because a lot of the people, like if they're in other time zones, they're not even home yet.
True, but you can't please everybody.
No. So I might be doing Tuesdays again and just deal with, because I know Gadgets Chats is on Tuesdays, but I might still do it. And then if I don't catch very many people, I might just do it Tuesdays and Thursdays. I don't know. I'm just trying to figure it out now because I had started on Tuesday, but then Gadget Cats started. So there's not really always a good day to do it. So I might just do it when I feel like doing it. But today was just kind of an impromptu. I want to talk about what I was dealing with, issues I had, and just talk because I haven't been on in a while. So.
Yeah, I used to do every Sunday. That was the perfect day, but I stopped doing Sundays because my background, I got it fixed. I want to get a room divider. I'm in my room. I got 1 bedroom, so I don't got no studio. My room is big enough, but that'll look professional. So I'm saving money trying to get that.
Yeah.
So my first step is to get the AirPods. Second is to get the divider. Because I almost got done my desk setup. I'll send you a picture on DM on Twitter to see my desk setup. It's about 95% done.
Well,
I
I've
need
been
speakers
looking
and change this little crappy mouse.
I think I've narrowed it down. I think I'm gonna get a what's the company?
Technica.
No,
Blue Jetty.
No, I think I want to get the Shure SM58. It's a dynamic mic, but in a lot of the tests, they placed it up there with the SM7B, but it's way cheaper. It's only like $90. And
do you need an interface for it?
You don't, but I want to get actually I talked to Joan McCullough and I want to get the oh my gosh, I had it in my list.
HD? No, that's not HDMI.
No, let me look here.
I can't remember.
It's an audio interface. Oh, Focusrite. The Focusrite.
Focusrite.
The Scarlett
2i2. Yep. That's
so I want to get that, and then
so then your mic is not HDMI then.
No, it would be XLR
SLR, that's one.
Yeah, or the Audio Technica 2020 has a USB version. But so here's my thinking right now. If I get the Scarlett, there's a couple different models. The 2i2
Is-
is good because I have potential for upgrading for if I ever get to the point where I actually have like somebody come on with me.
mhm,
I can plug in a mic, or just for expandability of dual input. So if I get to doing some of my music and stuff,
mhm.
um, but it's got 48-volt phantom power, so I can use it with um, microphones that need phantom power as well. So,
Yeah,
because like technically the Shearers, none of them need phantom power, but like the SM7B needs like if you don't provide that, you have to provide at least like 60 decibels of gain.
correct.
Um, so my idea is to start with this, and then I could potentially upgrade because this actually is good enough. It's only I found it on Amazon. It's $110, and I can do it for $20 a month for five um, 5 months.
Hmm.
And then the Shure SM58 is a good. It's good for voice and vocals.
Hmm.
But the advantage of that is it doesn't need phantom power.
Hmm.
But if you provide phantom power for somebody's voice like mine, it's beneficial. So
Hmm.
I'm trying to decide because my idea is then down the road, I could just upgrade the mic and I already have the audio interface good to go. And I've already figured out it's only going to be said and done. I think it's about $250 overall to start out. And that's with like one of the highest recommended dynamic mics and a good audio input, pop filter, cables, the um, microphone, like boom arm and everything. So they have kits on Amazon that you can get to have
Well,
everything.
yeah, the mic that I want to get in the future is a USB, but it's Rode mic. It's NT USB.
Oh, the
It
Rode
costs
NT
100.
USB. Yeah, that one gets a lot better. That one gets a lot better reviews than the uh, the Audio Technica 2020.
That's the one that BMac have on his channel.
So,
The one he used. I think it looks very similar.
because part of me wanted to go with the USB, but then I'm like, I can spend a little bit more, like maybe $40 more, and have the ability to upgrade without having to like rebuy stuff. Because the thing is, if I go with USB, yeah, I'll get a boom. I'd still want to get a boom arm and like a pop filter and some of the stuff. I'd get it has one built in, but there's still be things that I would need to get. But I can get a good mic for less than the USB mics, and then just spend
This
a
is what
little
I
bit
have for
more
now.
by
Can
getting
you
the
see
audio
mine?
interface.
Can you see mine? This is what I have.
Oh, you have the Icicle.
Yeah, the blue. That's what I have for now.
Yeah,
You
that's
see,
pretty
I
good.
don't know.
I thought about getting the. I really wanted to get. I thought about getting the Blue Yeti, or there's the Blue X now, and the Blue
Yeah.
X. It's more expensive, but it actually has lights on it that show like when you're too loud or when you're about to crack or things like that. It has that right on the device, and also they worked with LG to create some software so you can customize the colors and stuff that show like when you're gonna peak, your gain levels and things like that are all
Mhm.
shown. So it's pretty nice.
But let me tell you something. I mean, having good audio is good, but this mic and cheaper mic, I've seen people that go to the to the like Audacity or whatever program they're using to enhance the audio, and you cannot tell that it came from this type of mic. See, I mean, because people concerned about I gotta pay $500. It's not how much the equipment costs. It's how much you know how to use the equipment and how well you know how to use equipment. There's people that with cell phones had done amazing stuff.
That's
They know
true.
their craft. Like for example, Jonathan Morrison, he did a video on the iPhone 11 and music video professionally because his level of biography and videography is there. You know what I'm saying? So therefore, it depends on the person. Don't let just the mic fool you because that's what I
Yeah.
thought. I seen this channel, Everything Technology. He had the cheapest mic. He audio sound as good as other mics that cost $100, $200
Well, yeah, that's the thing.
for
So that was
production work.
that was kind of my direction I was going though is so part of what I've looked into is because I like to do live stream and um there's only so much you can do
I
when
put
it
the
comes
information of
to
the mic that I wanted.
there's only so much you can do with live stream like
Hmm.
an equalizer before it goes out when you're live stream. Yeah, when it comes to
Hmm.
like my videos that I record, post editing is great. But as far as live stream, I don't want to have to. I'd rather have a good balanced middle microphone, especially if I want to do like some of my singing and stuff on my other channel. I don't want to have to
Hmm.
worry about I gotta shell out extra money to or
Yeah, that
extra
makes
time
sense.
for software. I want a good
Hmm.
balance. And this one actually, I googled.
That's the one you see. You see the one that I put on the chat. That's
I
the one
did.
I'm getting in the future.
I googled like top microphones or whatever, and actually the one that I was looking at that's only like $90 for the microphone. Yeah, I say only, but I mean it's the Shure SM57 and 58 are basically the same
Yeah,
microphone.
they're
Um,
like a handheld mic, right?
yeah, but the thing
Yeah,
is,
I know.
the SM58 actually gets better ratings than the $400 SM7B in a lot of instances because of the fact that um, some of the tonality of the voice with the SM7B is lost, where the SM58 um, picks up more, which some people might see as a downside. But if you're doing music and vocals, if you put a pop filter on that thing, whether it's one of those that fits over like what they call them like a sock or an actual like in
A wind
front,
socket.
yeah, you can get audio that's as good, if not better, in some instances. Especially like you said, Audacity is free, and then you can put an EQ in there. And um, I've even seen some audio interfaces that have like I saw one the other day for $50 that provides phantom power and has a 2-band EQ, so I could adjust what goes out of it live for doing live. And I thought about going with that direction and testing that out. But I like the
I'm
idea.
looking at you. Sorry, I'm looking at you and I'm typing.
I like the idea that you can use it without an audio interface though. Like you can directly go XLR to USB right into your computer. But some of these you have to be careful because um, feedback noise.
Hmm.
Because I'm doing live stuff, I don't want um, I don't want to have to re- I don't want to have to be required to do editing. And like earlier, you were saying, and then the advantage too is that if I can get it to as close to perfect as possible without having to edit, that saves me time too.
True.
So I don't know.
But
And then I go back
also,
and forth with like, do I get a USB mic for now, or do I not? But the problem is, I'm still gonna have to get a boom arm and stuff because I type, and when I do live stream, everything is gonna be up through that if I don't get some sort of off access. And I don't want it showing up in front of my face. I don't want my
oh,
phone my microphone like this the whole time.
Mhm. But also, you don't want it that far because then the clarity isn't going to be there
No,
and the
but like
bass.
if I can have it off to the side like this,
Yeah,
you can
like that's
still see my
perfect.
face, and you might not even know it's there in a lot of live streams. But the problem with, most of them just come with a stand where it's going to be in front of me like this, and it's going to block. I mean, it might not be a big deal actually, but
Mhm.
then when I go to type, you're going to hear it. I mean, you're going to hear the clickety clack of the keyboard because it's so close, and the vibrations coming through the desk and stuff. So, for her
I don't know
question
if you hear me. I'm typing.
that you already answered this question, I know you did, but
Mhm.
what I would suggest that I did is I just went on to go onto Amazon and I typed in like um, podcast microphone kit, and there are actually
Mhm.
some really really good ones. Like let me do this real quick. Actually, I can do this and share. I think
Oh yeah, you could share the screen.
so. Let me.
It's 9:21. I'm gonna be here till 9:30. That's fine.
Okay. Yeah,
Okay,
I'm gonna
cool.
get going after this anyways, but I just wanted to
Yeah,
answer.
yeah, like 9 minutes would be cool for us. Cause I don't want to be like 3 hours and bore, the viewers.
Yeah, that's true. So if you go into Amazon and uh,
If I'm typing too loud, let me know. I type real fast. That's why.
if you go, there
Mhm.
we go. If you go into Amazon and you type in podcast microphone kit, there's a whole bunch of these that come up. But
Oh yeah,
what I've actually seen tested out is this one right here. So $65. Um,
right. This one.
the yeah the um
Yeah, I seen that one a lot.
Maona AU AO4. There's a bunch of
Yeah,
different
that's the.
ones, but this one gets really good, and I've heard like talking tests, singing tests, some rap tests, and that gets
Yeah.
decent. So for somebody
Yeah.
starting out, and then I just saw that there's actually a save an extra $5. So for $60, that's pretty good. Or like this, the one is the same thing, but it's got a boom arm and it's got the shock mount right there. I mean, it doesn't come with a carrying case, but
59.
who's gonna really
Oh,
care about that? But
oh, the $59.
yeah, $59, and you can save 10%. So that would make it $54. Um,
Okay, for
that's
me,
pretty
if
good.
you got, check this out. For me, if you got the adequate audio, adequate. I'm not saying like say let's say five. Five is the highest rating. If you got at least four and above, for me it's good because it's not only the audio. You also got to get the story. If you're doing live or you're doing video, it's also whatever you're doing is also a part of the narration and the story. You know what I mean?
And then there's Behringer, which has a whole podcast kit that
Oh
comes
yeah,
with.
they
You get a preamp and microphone and headphones and everything for $100. But then, as far as that
click
goes, if
click on it so I can see it better.
so, that's around the $50 price point, and then this is around the $100 price point. And then,
Yeah.
if let's
Ooh, that's
say
nice. I like that. For hundred
let's
dollars.
let's say $150 price point, I'll show you. Um,
The one that I want to get is very popular. It's a
so
170.
if you there you go, you can get the Blue Yeti with headphones for $150, with
You know
a
what?
boom arm, or they have this one right here, and this is actually I think what Mike uses. Tech King Mike actually has is the Blue Yeti with their really nice arm here.
Yeah, that's the one a lot of people use.
But if you look at this one, you can actually, I've seen you can get a renewed version of it,
Mhm.
and that's like 143, so it saves you about $30. And
And
that's
also that one that you're showing right now, people
Amazon.
have mounted people have mounted DSLR small, so used as the overhead rig to look down, and they had recorded videos like that, steady having a overgrid, like have the whole cage, whatever. They just buy it and use that sometimes,
And then
like a hack.
I'll look at one more, and then I'm gonna probably call it a night
Yeah.
here. Um,
Yeah. I don't know, but the blue, I don't know, the Blue Yeti. It's just that the sound quality is not all there.
so the Audio
Or
Technica
2020.
AT2020, they have right there, and then if you can go up to, so this is closer to the 180, so $186. So this would be a
It's
little
higher.
bit more than the other one I showed, but you got a boom arm with a shock mount, the microphone, all the cables you need, the pop filter, and
Look,
everything.
okay, look at the bottom of 123. It comes with the cable. You could buy a boom arm for cheap. My boom arm costs $15 or $13.
Yeah, there's one that's 123.77, but that doesn't have um that doesn't. So this one I looked at it earlier. Still comes with the desk mount and the desk pop filter. So if you wanted to use it that way for like portability, and it comes with the nice boom arm and the stuff. Yeah, you could, for like the $60 difference, you could probably get all that stuff. That's true.
For cheaper, because the
But
boom arm are cheap if you look on.
this is renewed and this is new. That's the only real difference.
Oh, okay, I didn't see that.
And you can get the new. So if you want to spend $15 more than that, you can get the new one right here.
Okay, that makes sense.
But it's then right here, you see it's got the new one. It's got a pop filter and headphones. Well, that's the
Oh yeah,
same
the
price.
volume.
You can get this, and most people probably already have headphones and probably better headphones. So I don't know. I'd probably go with this. But um, if I was just starting though, for versatility, get rid of that. In all honesty, it gets it doesn't get as good of reviews, but um, I'd probably go with the Blue Yeti, with that Blue Yeti with that arm, because for price and everything and versatility, and here for me,
Mhm.
because you have all the different patterns you can choose from. So you can go from cardioid to the omnidirectional to stereo to, so
You
depending
know,
on
it's
what
the
you're
problem
doing.
with the Blue Yeti. Honestly, it's just people don't know how to use it properly, because um Zach Talk Tech, he was using it and he sounded good. Because Jason from Painfully Honest helped him to dial the audio, because Painfully Honest is engineering. That's why he was in a band for many years. So he helped him to dial the actual sound. See, some people buy microphone and they don't tune it to the right properly. They're like, oh, it's a USB. That's it. No, you still could do stuff to make it better. You know what I mean?
Well, and also Juan Bagnell,
Hmm.
he was using a Blue Yeti for the longest time, and
A lot of people.
he just has it next to him with the pop filter, and you speak across it, so you have it coming in like this instead of like in front of you like this. So you're not, so then you don't have any of the plosives where you're
Hmm.
popping into it. You're not blowing any air into it, so you just put it next to you and you get good audio. And you can even have the thing up above you. So raise it up. That's only about 6 inches from my mouth, but it's out of view.
Yeah, I don't like that sounding. I like it lower in the bottom
But some people do
for
that,
my tape.
like if they don't want it in view with them and they're trying to type. Like if you have a laptop or something, then you can bring it up behind you, and you don't have to worry about, like, if it can be behind from on the desk and up and over, and it can be out of your face, and you can just. It just depends on what you
Yeah,
like.
I know what the people like, but what I'm trying to say is the quality is not there. If it's close, it's better.
Yeah, I mean, it's
I
still,
mean, I saw so many texts. That's why.
yeah,
Because you know how much I had the mic and it's special 2 years ago. I didn't buy. I'm stupid. I had the silver one on Best Buy, right? And they had only two left. Let me tell you, I was gonna buy it for $80. It was a special. I don't know why I didn't get it.
yeah, that's a really good deal. That's like, what?
Everything, no arms, but boom arm, but still everything $80. But I don't know why I never bought it
That's
because
still
that
thirty
mic been
dollars.
around more than 5 years.
That's still $30 off. So, well, it is 9:30. So
Yeah,
thank you, Tech
yeah,
for Your Needs. Thank you,
yeah,
Lewis. I'm gonna kick you off, and then I'm gonna do my
yeah. All right,
my.
thanks for having me.
So
Outro.
yeah. Well, for everybody who was here, that was a long 2.5 hours, but we got some interesting conversation at the beginning, kind of technical in the middle, and back to some good stuff at the end, hopefully. Um, it gives me some ideas. I actually was thinking I might do a audio kind of beginner's audio search stream, just kind of showing how I did my looking and giving people ideas what to look for. Thank you, Dr. Donna Walter, for joining us. I think you've been here pretty much most of the whole time, and Art Dog for joining earlier. Thank you, Tech for Needs, for jumping on with me. Big Dog for coming on for a little bit. Thank you, everybody, for watching and for listening. Thank you for joining me on this journey, and I look forward to seeing you guys this next week. Um, Please like, subscribe, and share. And as always, good day and God bless.